Has anybody got a question or a comment?
This is Jim, Greg. The thing that happened to me that made the most impression on me is when I went up on stage and I was talking and I froze. Not froze, I forgot. I totally forgot. And I practice all the time at home. I kind of have it memorized, but what is the cause of that? Where you just get the memory blank?
In my personal opinion, it's how you're rehearsing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Right now, I'm going to tell you how you rehearse. You write your jokes and you say them out loud over and over and over and over and over again. That is the problem. Let me just ask you then, in real life, you're funny around, you pick it, your friends, your family, work, whatever it is, and you can make people laugh, correct?
Sure.
Right, that place. Before you did that, did you sit around and memorize the exact words of anything?
No.
Interesting, isn't it? Therein lies is that your normal sense of humor, your normal way of remembering has been replaced by this word memorization. And I'm not going to take away your words because they're very important. So let me just kind of go into this because this is really this whole area that I've invented about rehearsal and understanding. When you rehearse the way you've rehearsed, which is saying the words over and over again out loud, the problem isn't your effort. So the challenge is how you're doing it. If you're being funny in real life, you're probably talking about something that really happened to you. Am I correct? And you're making jokes about it and you're joking with everybody, right?
Yes.
There are only a certain amount of ways we get information into the human mind. It comes in through our senses, the five senses. We then store it in our brain, and then we take that representation and feed it back to us in recall or memory. So the shortcut for this is pictures, sounds, and feelings. We take olfactory and gustatory, smell and taste. We put it in with feelings because when you remember smell and taste, you don't really remember them. You remember emotional response to them. Like when you think about chocolate, you don't retaste chocolate, but you remember the emotional going, I really enjoyed that. That was really good. So we take those and for convenience sake, kind of pile them into feelings. Normally, information's coming in through pictures, sounds, and feelings. We store it in the mind or brain as picture, sounds, and feelings. Then we recall it in memory as picture, sounds, and feelings. That sensory information then generates our behaviors, kind of cues us of what words we want to use to describe what's going on in that recall. You might even repeat what somebody else said in that. You might even become them a little bit. It also causes you to behave. Your emotions come up. If you're skiing, you're pretending you're skiing. I mean, all these behaviors come out of you. If you're looking at something, you'll point at it, or you'll talk about a friend, you'll point at your friend. All those behaviors are normally and naturally generated by the sensory information that you're recalling, and it's running through your mind. It's now autonomically causing you to communicate the only three ways we communicate with other people, which is with body language, with vocal tone, and with words. That is normal human communication. That's because you remembered something that really happened to you, went into your brain as normal memory. It comes out as normal memory and does all the things that memory is supposed to do: picture, sounds, and feelings, generate words, body language, and vocal tone. So then you write a joke and you go, well, I've got to remember exactly what I'm going to say. However you got it, probably from acting, you got to memorize your lines or wherever else you get it, or nobody has taught you any different. That's not what I teach. I teach that gets in the way. Let me explain why. When you repeat the words over and over and over again, it gets coded in the brain that the only way, because it's a voice, you can recall that information is with self-talk, with your own internal dialogue. Now, I'm an expert in NLP. I'm a master trainer and master practitioner. Part of what they teach you is about eye movements and how eye movements help recollection or call. When we're looking up, we can recall what we're seeing. When the eyes move toward the ears, we're listening to sounds. When we look down and to the left, we can access our self-talk. Down to the right is deeper feelings. You don't see anybody who's depressed looking up. And it can be a rapid movement of all these things. But with self-talk, your eyes have got to go down and to the left, and you talk to yourself. Also, a lot of people, when they talk to themselves, they get an itch and they scratch, or they touch their nose, or they pull their ear, or they do all these little things, or they don't want you to know they're doing it. They kind of space out. What I'm concerned with is this down into the left, into self-talk, or what they call internal monologue, talking to yourself. When you repeat the words over and over and over and over and over again, it seems to get coded someplace in the brain that the only way to retrieve it or to recall it or to remember it is by looking down into your left and talking those words to yourself. I point down over here when I'm referring to self-talk. And you're talking to yourself. That's the way you're retrieving the jokes. Not normal, not what you would normally do with picture, sounds, and feelings. You're now completely replaced normal memory with self-talk memory because of how you've repeated it. It replaces it. The problem with this is that place where you go down into the left and you talk to yourself behaves a lot like a soundproof booth. When you go in there, the whole world is shut out. You can't have a relationship with the audience. You don't notice the external world at all because it takes all of your attention and all of your concentration to go into there and say the next thing to yourself that you're going to say. Between each joke, they look down, they talk the joke to themselves. They've shut out the whole world because it's soundproof proof. They come back in, they've missed the laugh, and then they just say their next joke. Now, they're probably out of sync with the audience because being in a rhythm with the audience is a big part of this. When do you come back in after the laugh? How long do you let them laugh? You have to have your attention on the audience and notice that. Now, there's more problems with the soundproof room. Again, the biggest problem, you close out the whole relationship. You can't have a relationship with the audience because you don't have the attention for it. Very little attention is for the audience. That's why people who do word memorization do not remember. They don't even know anybody laughed. We'll look at the video later and they go, wow, I did really good. The jokes did really good. Why didn't I hear it? Because after they said the joke, they immediately went into here to talk to themselves. The audience is laughing, but they can't hear it because they're too busy talking to themselves. And once they get that, they come back out and then say it to the audience. That might get a good laugh too. And because they're panicked about and their outcome is, I've got to know what I'm going to say next. They go back into that room. The audience is laughing. They miss it, come back out. This goes on for a whole show. And you can only get that information as fast as you can talk it to yourself. Some people can get the whole joke or whole bit and they can talk it to themselves and then they can talk. Some people have to do it every single sentence or every single joke. You're not doing that because you're just going in, getting the information and then saying it because you're panicked about forgetting it. Well, it's not interesting, nor is it funny to watch somebody remember correctly. Okay. And that's what you're doing. You're practicing so you can remember correctly. And it just doesn't feel right to go in there and ignore everybody because they're laughing and having a good time with you. Excuse me, I got to go away for a while to find my next joke. Can you guys all wait there? I'll sip your drinks for a moment, please. Would you please? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now I know what I'm going to say. Here's what's happened to you, in my opinion. You probably got up there. Did you get a laugh? Did you, when you first talked, did you say anything?
I introduced myself with a joke. You're right about looking to the left. I was looking down, thinking about what I was going to say. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
And then I'm not sure what they were doing. I lost them.
Right. Okay. So do you even know if they laughed?
I want to think so. No, I believe so.
See, this is part of the problem. Now, let me give you one of my number one principle about everything in stand-up comedy. The most important aspect of stand-up comedy is your relationship with the audience. I go so far as to say the show itself is that relationship. That's the show. The material is the activity. You could do material. You could do crowd work. You could do audience participation. You could do a little improv. There's a lot of things you can do. That relationship is the show. That's what the audience has come for, is for you to pull them into your world with your relationship and to hang out with you, not to watch you remember correctly and say the right words that you decided at home. You then say something, gets a laugh or it doesn't get a laugh, but at some point, your attention, instead of being in that soundproof room, went external for a moment. If your attention is external, you can't get into that soundproof room, but that's where all your information is. Now, once you have a moment that you can't get into that room for a moment, you have a little moment of panic. Then your eyes then go over to the down and to the right. The self-criticism and the self-panic talk starts. That internal dialogue starts. They're not laughing. They're not laughing. Oh my God, I forgot. Oh my God. Now that further clogs up the mind of you remembering anything. Pretty close to what really happened?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so how do you get out? One, we've got to stop that internal monologue. We got to stop that. Okay. Because now you're stuck inside in another place inside your mind. Your information is over here. So you've got to stop that self-talk of, beating yourself up or panicking and get over here to get your words. But now, you're clogged up. Now the whole thing is, now you froze. And now if you go external, now you're noticing, which is what I've done. You then go external and realize they're all looking at me and I'm not doing anything. Early years, I did an open mic at the Comedy Store and they had two really huge spotlights on you. The only thing that helped me at that point was the internal monologue changed from they're beating you up, they're not laughing, blah, 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 to looking at those two lights and saying to myself, wow, I really wish that was a Mack truck to just run me over and kill me right now. Here was my mistake. I didn't say that. The audience saw I was distressed. They saw that I was fumbling. They know you're having a hard time. And my unconscious mind gave me a very funny joke. And I suppressed it because it wasn't what I practiced. See, I believe that the sense of humor, one of the reasons it evolved in human beings, is to deal with pain and stress, things that go wrong in our lives. And if you'll listen, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, but your unconscious mind could have very probably have given you the perfect out. Did anything run through your mind at that point?
Panic and
what'd you say to yourself?
Well, I told the crowd that I can't remember. I go, can you guys remember what I was going to say?
Oh my God, did that get a huge laugh?
Yeah, I did. It got a laugh.
That's right, because now for the first time, you're external. Your words are coming from really inside of you, who you are. It's a very honest moment because the audience can see it. And you did it in joke structure to say, I can't remember. Can you remember what I was supposed to say? That's hilarious. Your unconscious mind gave you the perfect answer to get out of that moment of stress. Your unconscious mind taking care of you. Trust it. It is the largest part of you. In my personal opinion, you cannot do stand-up comedy well. You can do it, but I don't think you can do it at its best using only the conscious mind. By trying to control it all with just your conscious mind, you're leaving out the largest part of you, which is your unconscious mind. There is a certain amount of surrender. It's not being out of control. It's more of letting go of the control, trusting a flow, trusting yourself, and trusting that deeper part of you that right there at that moment, that's the part to trust, part of you that gave you the perfect answer. And I find that happens with most people in that situation. It helps if they then say it, which congratulations, you did. You had yourself a very powerful, honest moment with the audience. You had a bonding, for as fleeting as it was, you had a bonding moment with them. And they began to really like you. One of my adages, the audience will always trust you as long as they know that you know what's happening in the show. For you to go, oh, I just forgot. They can trust you because they now know that you know that the show isn't going well and you forgot. So you did perfectly the right thing. You listened to that deeper part of your unconscious mind that gave you the perfect answer. But it wasn't anything to do with what was in that soundproof room. The most important aspect of stand-up comedy is your relationship with the audience. The show itself is that relationship.